This is Deb Halfrich, hashtag Redheaded She-Hulk. Again, doing the light situation. I talked earlier about in an unspoken voice. My voice got locked inside in my earliest years. It's a damn shame. But I'm here as the hashtag Redheaded She-Hulk to put a lot of that aside. And having been a practicing anti-racist before anyone could conceive that we'd need to be not, more than not just a racist. I was more. I was somebody who actively used my own lived experiences to demonstrate a very pale person, not just willing, but wanting to be the only white person in a group of Black people. My best times of my life. You know, we're talking generically now, but we're also talking about the mid to late 80s onward. And it takes this kind of perspective to really, and balls, to go, as much as I agree with Dr. Kendi's overall scholarship, I don't think his conclusion is as valid as it could be if we could have a Socratic dialogue. I think it's all written in his book, but you know, he's focused on the laws, focused on changing the system, the words and the statutes of systemic racism. But we've had laws, movements, protests. None of them have worked as broadly as they should have. They certainly didn't seem to extend over time. They seem to have, while the public attention is on them, achieved varying measures of success, right? But when no one's talking about the Million Man March anymore, which I lived in DC and did observe personally, under no even slight personal concern for my well-being, would not be the case, even theoretically for me, if it was white men all gathering. Whiteness scares the shit out of me in ways that Blackness impresses me. I have an admiration and a respect for the way of learning to remain human under oppression, to never alter that humanity based on the undeniable pressures to alter and want to, you know, harm the oppressors and retribution and things like that. I mean, think about it. Reparations, no retribution, only just y'all set us up to fail. Let's smooth out all of the potholes and everything in our civilization so that every human is running on a smooth course. Reparations, not retribution. It's always been the demand. And it's reparations for a reason, because what capitalism did was steal labor. We're all acting around. Capitalism is only the dominant economic system because it has never, ever, 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 ever even seen the need to accurately pay labor. And it forces, steals, and enslaves the very labor that guarantees its existence. I don't see you, I don't see you. It's like the observer effect in physics. It's like the entire mental health industry. Oh my fucking Lord. Like people who specialize in brains and thinking equipment as in the medical world, y'all need a philosopher's stat. That's what needs to be life support is your capacity to so diminish the capacity of human life force. And so what I mean to be saying here is brains are an organ. They are entirely similar. We don't go around saying black skin creates an inferior brain. That is a fucking absurd thing to say. But minds are brains paired with really rare, specific lived experiences, rare emotional responses to specific instances that have nothing to do with the objective reality of any given occurrence, but what might have been happening in the time before, both in the near term and over the long term. Here's an example. I don't really like to talk on the phone. I'm bad at it. Early on in my trauma healing situation, I didn't have a story. I just never, ever enjoyed talking on the phone. I came up with a story like, well, what happened if you were like, 3 or 4, and you're just sitting there in the kitchen doing whatever it is you do, reading or coloring books or whatever. Your mom is, the water is boiling, et cetera, et cetera. The phone rings. And you don't hear her, you don't know who it is. She goes white as a ghost and starts crying. So she doesn't greet whoever it is. The phone rings, everything is normal, dinner time, and then your mom's face goes white and she starts crying. If this happens at a certain developmental stage and it's not talked through, that person for the rest of their life, and prior to the point when you would store in the memories, your brain would just make the simple association, don't talk on the phone because it makes your mom cry. Now there are reasons, again, no small talk, no patter. Perhaps your mom went white because her sister just called and said she was pregnant. What was happening on the other side of the telephone conversation could have been entirely opposite. It could have been that she just went white on her face because there was too much static and she didn't know what was going on. And then again, good news came through, or not. We don't know. One of the things I've come to realize is I've been denied the complexity of communication. I'm a very embodied communicator, and I didn't really ever have anybody cherish the full embodiment. Again, I'm still sitting here, get to be in my stage and do my moving around. When I used to talk on the phone as a kid, I had a cord, and I would walk around the kitchen table, back and forth, and the kitchen was an L-shaped, so there were 2 doors. So the table was on one corner, and then the L path. So not fully around in a circle, but from basically the top of the stairs of the front door off to the side of the dining room to the patio door. It was a real circuit of a lot of traffic and thoroughfares and whatnot. Not a very private place to be exploring your teenage years, eh? You see, you have to look at the context. You have to notice where the memory's coming from, and why is it so important for me to give you all these facts about the traffic patterns? Because I'm now vibrating about how hard it would have been as a teenager to have any sort of teenage discussions. I did at a certain point manage to get a phone in my bedroom, but still, anyone at any time could pick up an extension. So here's a conundrum: is the privacy of cell phones and the direct access to like every person having their own phone number, it's nowhere near all good. And I'm not sure it's even more good than it is bad. It's useful in some ways. It's becoming pretty much standard. But when things like this switch from a communal to an individual, the companies providing the tech get 4 more fees. But do you get 4 more times the service? Is that really the case? Do you get 5 times more hassle? 5 times more admin? 5 times more bills to pay? Because now you're not buying just one phone that will last for as long as all y'all family last, minus somebody actively taking a hammer to it. Now these things, they go fritz, stop working, have a bad software update. You know, the quality of every durable good is now fragile. Everything costs less to throw away and get a brand new one. And you're incentivized with this. FOMO, fear of missing out. There'll be one more feature in this upgrade that will change your life. But mostly, it's 57 things that don't function the way your brain, your subconscious had chunked. We use these devices and we start making shortcuts. We don't have to think, we know exactly what apps are lined up next to each other. We know we can just go do the keyboard shortcuts. And then motherfucker change everything right under your subconscious awareness. Do you know how much productivity is lost based on random software updates across the country? About the way all of the cloud apps are all individual companies and things don't tie together. And even in the monopolies of the Googleisms, things don't really fit together. Just something to think about. It's this where we're at now with change is all being done. The lip service to customers. I'm sorry, but on social media, on most apps, I mean, it's been 12 years since anyone's really found any reason to upgrade anything. It's all being done to us now. It's all being forced by the companies and their relentless capacity to convince us to spend more money on things we used to not have to spend money on. If this is all that's prioritized in our society and in the US of hypocrisy, I cannot sell clear thinking. I cannot sell How to Disrupt the Accountant Managed Disease Care Model. I can't save people money while making them healthier. Because I refuse to lock my IP up in one set of GL accounts. Now I need to have a roof over my head. Seems to be getting lost in the picture of all this integrity. This is on purpose. I keep asking for somebody to write a blank check. I represent abundance. I represent the kind of returns on investment that are staggering. I could save your life. I'm asking for $300,000 to $500,000, 3 to 5 years of an annual salary. I'll take the extra 2 years and make sure it's just 3 years and spend that money on paying collaborators. We need a global symposium about mental fitness. We need to employ philosophy to unite African, Eastern, and Western approaches to healthcare. Oh, snap. Yes, parties. I had an idea for posture parties. I don't know where to write this down, but we're going to write this down. I don't know if this is the appropriate one. We need to learn we need to learn embodied cognition. Embodied cognition in small groups of movement-based exploration. There we go. Posture parties. Speaking of posture and trying to keep glaring lights from blaring in my reflection. Posture parties. Again, just because I have world-altering idea, since I have no money to send to Google to tell the world about my idea, it'd be just like all the rest of the marvelous ideas. This is always my favorite, when Allen Iverson is the heart of carbon being the gateway element. It is 6 very, very, the fifth force, fifth element. I'm always doing things one pivot. Just get you in the right mind. I am the fifth element. I mean, that's the ballpark. When you have my size body and my quantity of red hair and my capacity for brilliance, yeah, I'm gonna go update my name on LinkedIn. Let's see how that works. All right, harmony, y'all. I gotta really stop. There's a lot of squinting. I think that actually, so yeah, again, back to, I think my eyeballs are too deep in my head. I think these dark circles There's really a dead zone here. I think not optimizing gravity. I think where my head, my eyesight would be is probably always, it's not, it's yeah, looking at up this thing. It seems just a little too high for me. Like I cut off the look of my head when I put it at the right eyesight. Blaming this on you, Google. Holler at me, YouTube. We gotta. The software should be able to take where the camera is and level out. Because everything we see in the world is upside down in our eyesight. Our brain right sides it. So there's no reason we shouldn't be able to take webcams that may have to physically be where they are and not have where they record from being center of the eyesight. I don't know. That should be a software engineering problem, philosophically speaking. Yeah, it's very interesting. Do we avoid this? But the whole thing is what this is showing is as great as we can get my neckline to look. Maybe this neutral posture isn't in often enough, so my brain and body are not aware. If I'm always contorting myself so you don't get to see it, that now has my body ever gotten the feedback? Yeah, there's still too much excess here. Let's have a quick rejigger. Let's refocus and reutilize this. All right. Just doing my work. Wondering when anybody's going to pay attention. Look, the Wellbeing Philosophy Institute, sharing all kinds of one-woman Socratic monologues, short ones, long ones. I think, again, it's best if I get to going. That increases mental fitness. But also, there's the sort of hashtagging topics and putting together everything I talk about as far as how did I get to look so young when I looked so old when I was young. What is that about, really? Well, and it's all about bioelectricity. It's all about not the number of age, but the volume of conductivity within your whole biofield. That's the matrix that says whether you're healthy or not. The variable of how optimized your conductivity of your bioelectricity is. So, harmony, y'all.